A downturn is a huge, broad, and delayed decline in monetary action. Since downturns frequently most recent a half year or more, one well-known guideline is that 2 continuous quarters of decrease in a nation's gross domestic product, GDP, comprise a downturn. Financial specialists including those at the National Bureau of Economic Research, NBER, which dates U.S. business cycles, characterize a downturn as a financial withdrawal beginning at the pinnacle of the extension that went before it and finishing at the depressed spot of the resulting slump. Downturns normally produce decreases in financial result, customer interest, and work. Thunberg considers markers including non-farm payrolls, modern creation, and retail deals, among others, in assigning the beginning and end of U.S. downturns, typically months after the pinnacle and box of the business cycle. A slump should be profound, inescapable, and enduring to qualify as a downturn according to Thunberg. However, these are careful decisions made by scholastics, not a numerical equation intended to signal a downturn when one starts. For instance, the profundity and broad nature of the monetary slump brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 drove Thunberg to assign it a downturn regardless of its moderately concise 2-month length. Since the Industrial Revolution, financial development has been the standard in many nations, and constrictions a common exemption for that standard. Downturns are the moderately short restorative period of the business cycle. They frequently address the monetary uneven characters caused by the first development, making room for development to continue. However, downturns are a typical element of the financial scene. They've developed less regular and more limited in the cutting-edge period. Somewhere in the range of 1960 and 2007, 122 downturns influencing 21 high-level economies won generally 10% of the time, as per the International Monetary Fund, IMF. Since downturns address a sudden inversion of the normally predominant development pattern, the decreases in monetary result and work that they cause can winding, becoming self-propagating. For instance, the cutbacks brought about by lessened customer request hit the pay and expenditure of the recently jobless, discouraging interest further. Likewise, the bear markets in stocks that occasionally go with downturns can switch the abundance impact, reducing utilization predicated on rising resource esteems and expanded total assets. On the off chance that money lenders pull back, private companies will find it challenging to continue to develop, and some might fail. Since the Great Depression, state-run administrations all over the planet have embraced counter-repetitive financial and money-related strategies to guarantee that generally common downturns don't transform into something substantially more harming to their drawn-out monetary possibilities. A portion of these stabilizers are programmed, as expanded spending on joblessness protection that makes up a small part of lost pay for laid-off specialists. Others, similar to low-cost slices intended to set up business and venture, require the choice of a national bank like the Federal Reserve in the U.S. For financial backers, one of the most outstanding systems to have during the downturn is to put resources into organizations with low obligation, great income, and solid monetary records. On the other hand, portions of organizations that are profoundly utilized, repetitive, or speculative are best kept away from until the downturn is finished, when the survivors among them frequently begin outflanking. The planning of such financial defining moments stays challenging to perceive besides everything considered. It doesn't help that financial backers, financial experts, and laborers are at risk to characterize a downturn diversely regarding its significant impacts. Since joblessness frequently stays high beyond the financial box, laborers may not consider a downturn over until the monetary recuperation has been in progress for a really long time or even years. In the meantime, since financial exchange declines frequently expect monetary slumps, a financial backer might accept a downturn has started as capital misfortunes stack up and corporate profit wither, regardless of whether buyer spending and work stay sound. Downturn predictors and indicators. While there is no single surefire downturn marker, a reversed yield bend has expected every one of the 10 U.S. downturns starting around 1955, while likewise setting off a couple of deceptions. Since longer-term obligation has more length risk, it generally offers better returns than more limited-term commitments. A 10-year security will in general yield in excess of a 2-year note normally, since there is more gamble that expansion or potentially higher loan fees will bring down its reasonable worth before recovery. The yield band rearranges in light of the fact that the yields on longer-dated obligation decline, sending costs higher, as dealers expect monetary shortcoming and loan fee cuts from now on. In the meantime, more limited-term rates are more reliant upon the government subsidizes rate and the closed-term assumptions for money-related arrangement. In the event that the Federal Reserve is supposed to continue to raise the government subsidizes rate, those assumptions will quite often lift 2-year yields more so than 10-year ones. Financial backers additionally depend on proactive factors to expect monetary defining moments. These incorporate the ISM Purchasing Managers Index, the Conference Board Leading Economic Index, and the OECD Composite Leading Indicator. What causes recessions? Various monetary speculations endeavor to make sense of why and how the economy could tumble off of its drawn-out development pattern and into a downturn. These speculations can be extensively classified as founded on monetary, or mental elements, with some crossing over the holes between these. A few financial experts center around monetary changes, remembering primary movements for ventures, as generally significant. For instance, a sharp, supported flood in oil costs because of an international emergency could raise costs across the economy, while another innovation could quickly make whole enterprises old, with downturn a conceivable result regardless. The COVID-19 pestilence in 2020 and the general well-being limitations forced to check its spread are one more illustration of a monetary shock that can hasten a downturn. It might likewise be the situation that a monetary shock simply speeds up the beginning of a downturn that would have happened in any case because of other financial elements and irregular characteristics. A few hypotheses make sense of downturns as reliant upon monetary elements. These generally center around credit development and the gathering of monetary dangers during the great financial times going before the downturn, the withdrawal of credit and cash supply at the beginning of a downturn, or both. Monetarism, which partners downturns with lacking development and cash supply, is a genuine illustration of this kind of hypothesis. Brain research-based speculations of downturn will generally zero in on the overrichness of financial expansions and the profound cynicism wild during slumps to make sense of why downturns can happen and try and endure. Keynesian financial aspects centers around the mental and monetary variables that can build up and drag out downturns. The idea of a Minsky moment, named for financial expert Hyman Minsky, coordinates the mental and monetary systems, stressing the manner in which positively trending market elation can misshape the impetuses of monetary entertainers and energize unreasonable hypotheses. Downturns and depressions. As indicated by the number, the U.S. has encountered 34 downturns beginning around 1854. Just 5 have happened beginning around 1980. The slump following the 2008 worldwide monetary emergency and the 2 fair ruts of the mid-1980s were the most exceedingly awful since the Great Depression and the 1937-38 downturn. Routine downturns can make the GDP decline 2%, while serious ones could hinder an economy 5%, as per the IMF. A downturn is an especially profound and durable downturn, however there is no generally acknowledged mathematical equation characterizing one. The Great Depression caused U.S. financial results to drop 33% while stocks plunged 80% and joblessness came to 25%. The 1937-38 downturn made genuine GDP drop 10% while the joblessness rate leapt to 20%. What happens in a recession? Monetary result, business, and buyer spending drop in a downturn. Financing costs are additionally liable to decline as the national bank, the Federal Reserve in the U.S., slices its benchmark rate to help the economy. The public authorities' financial plan shortage augments since charge incomes tail off, while spending on joblessness protection and other social projects ascends as additional individuals fit the bill for the advantages. When was the last recession? The last U.S. downturn occurred in 2020, at the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. As per number, the 2-month slump finished in April 2020, qualifying as a downturn in spite of its record short length since it was profound and unavoidable. How long do recessions last? The typical U.S. downturn beginning around 1857 endured 17 months, while the 6 downturns starting around 1980 have endured under 10 months by and large.